Welcome back to AI Reviews. Like always, I am your host, Lee. Today we are having an AI review Warhammer 40,000. Space Marine 2, 4 times ranging from loving it to hating it. I am very much looking forward to this one. I really loved the original. But let's see what the AI thinks.
Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 bursts onto the gaming scene as a triumphant sequel to its predecessor, bringing back the intense action and deep lore that fans have come to adore. Developed by Saber Interactive and set to release on September 9, 2024, this game not only meets the high expectations set by the first installment, but surpasses them with flying colors, earning a glowing 4/4 stars from this delighted gamer. From the outset, Space Marine 2 immerses players in the grimdark universe of Warhammer 40,000 with stunning graphical fidelity. The attention to detail in the environments and character models is phenomenal, perfectly capturing the bleak, gothic atmosphere of a galaxy perpetually at war. Every location is meticulously crafted, from the sprawling battlefields littered with debris to the imposing architecture of imperial strongholds, all rendered with a level of detail that makes the world feel alive and pulse-pounding. The protagonist, Lieutenant Titus, returns more hardened and battle-scarred, voiced with gravelly intensity that perfectly suits the game's tone. His character development is a highlight, offering a rare glimpse into the psyche of a space marine. This narrative depth adds layers to the gameplay experience, enriching every mission with personal stakes and driving home the relentless burden of duty that defines the Adeptus Astartes. Gameplay in Space Marine 2 is exquisitely tuned, balancing brutal melee combat with satisfying ranged encounters. The controls are responsive and intuitive, allowing for fluid transitions between slicing through hordes of orcs with a chainsword and taking down distant enemies with a bolter. The addition of new weapons and abilities keeps the combat fresh and exciting, constantly challenging players to adapt their tactics against a variety of foes. The narrative is compelling, skillfully woven through missions that further the saga of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. The plot is dense with intrigue and conflict, characteristic of the franchise's rich storytelling tradition. Missions are not mere skirmishes but pivotal battles that feel impactful on a larger scale, each victory and loss shaping the course of the war and influencing the narrative arc. The voice acting and cinematic cutscenes enhance this storytelling, drawing players deeper into the grim future of the 41st millennium. Multiplayer mode is another area where Space Marine 2 shines. The co-op features allow players to team up in squads, bringing a communal aspect to the campaign that enhances the overall experience. The coordination and camaraderie required to tackle missions together add a layer of strategic depth and replayability, ensuring that players will return to the battlefield time and again. In conclusion, Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, is a masterclass in sequel making. It retains the core elements that made the original game a success while introducing new features that elevate the experience to new heights. For its breathtaking visuals, gripping narrative, and exhilarating gameplay, I wholeheartedly give Space Marine 2 a perfect 4/4 stars. This game is not just a worthy successor, it's a significant advancement that sets a new standard for action games within the Warhammer universe.
Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, developed by Saber Interactive, builds upon the legacy of its predecessor with a sequel that not only captures the brutal essence of the Warhammer universe, but also expands on it in ambitious ways. Released on September 9, 2024, this game is poised to delight fans with its refined gameplay and deeper dive into the lore of the 41st millennium. While it delivers an immersive experience that is both visually and narratively engaging, it's not without its flaws, earning a solid yet imperfect 3/4 stars. Graphically, Space Marine 2 is a feast for the eyes. The environments are meticulously detailed, capturing the dark, gothic aesthetic that fans of the franchise expect. The character models are impressively rendered, with animations that bring the ferocious battles to life. The visual improvements from the first game are evident and appreciated, enhancing the overall immersion of the game. The gameplay remains true to the series' roots, offering a satisfying mix of intense melee and ranged combat. The controls are sharp, and the addition of new weapons and abilities provides a fresh layer to the combat mechanics, allowing veterans and newcomers alike to strategize in novel and dynamic ways. The action is relentless and gratifying, with each skirmish feeling significant to the broader war effort. However, where Space Marine 2 stumbles somewhat is in its pacing and narrative integration. The story, while rich with potential, occasionally feels secondary to the gameplay. Major plot developments can seem rushed or insufficiently explored, which might leave players wanting more depth and connectivity to the overarching storyline. This is particularly noticeable in some of the game's key missions, where the narrative seems to take a back seat to the action, detracting from the potential emotional impact of the story. Additionally, while the multiplayer mode adds a significant replay value, its integration into the main campaign can sometimes feel disjointed. The transition between solo and cooperative play isn't always seamless, which might disrupt the narrative flow for players who prefer a more cohesive story experience. Despite these issues, the multiplayer aspect does provide exciting and challenging gameplay that enhances the overall longevity of the game. In conclusion, Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, is a commendable sequel that successfully captures the intensity and scale of the Warhammer universe. It offers a visually stunning and mechanically refined experience that will surely satisfy fans of the series. However, the pacing of the narrative and the integration of multiplayer elements leave room for improvement. These aspects prevent the game from achieving the perfect balance that could have elevated it to the pinnacle of gaming excellence. Addressing these narrative pacing issues could have enhanced the player's emotional engagement and overall satisfaction. For its strong execution and engaging gameplay, yet minor shortcomings in story pacing, I give Space Marine 2 a well-earned 3/4 stars.
Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, developed by Saber Interactive, seeks to build upon the foundations laid by its predecessor, promising an intense and immersive experience within the richly dark universe of Warhammer 40K. Released on September 9, 2024, this sequel boasts enhanced graphics and expanded gameplay mechanics. However, while visually stunning and mechanically robust, the game struggles with narrative depth and pacing, elements that are crucial for a sequel aiming to outshine its original, thereby earning a 2 out of 4 stars from this critical perspective. Graphically, Space Marine 2 is undeniably impressive. The detailed environments and character animations are top-notch, capturing the gritty essence of the Warhammer 40,000 universe with a vividness that is both striking and engaging. The visual improvements are evident and add significantly to the game's atmosphere, providing a sense of scale and immersion that is expected in modern gaming. The gameplay in Space Marine 2 is robust, featuring an array of new weapons and abilities that add complexity and variety to combat scenarios. The action sequences are well executed, with responsive controls that handle beautifully during intense battles. However, while these aspects are finely tuned, they often overshadow the game's story, which feels underdeveloped and rushed. This leads to one of the game's primary issues, the pacing and integration of its narrative. The story, critical in a sequel to deepen the franchise's lore and character arcs, seems to take a backseat to the gameplay. Important plot points are hurried through with little time for development or emotional impact, making the narrative feel disconnected and the characters' motivations unclear. This lack of narrative focus undermines the potential for a truly engaging story, which is disappointing for players who value rich, story-driven content in their gaming experiences. Moreover, the integration of multiplayer elements, while intended to enhance the replayability and social aspects of the game, feels somewhat forced. The transition between single-player campaigns and multiplayer modes can be jarring, lacking the seamless integration that could have made the experience more cohesive. This disjointedness can detract from the overall enjoyment, leaving players feeling pulled out of the story rather than further immersed in it. In conclusion, Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2 is a game that excels in visual presentation and gameplay mechanics but falls short in narrative execution. The sequel had the potential to elevate the Warhammer 40K gaming experience to new heights, but instead delivers a mixed bag that prioritizes action over story. For its impressive combat and graphical achievements, yet disappointing narrative and pacing, I give Space Marine 2 a fair 2 out of 4 stars. It serves as a reminder that even the most beautifully rendered worlds and finely tuned gameplay can't compensate for a lacking story, especially in a franchise celebrated for its complex lore and epic storytelling.
Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, the latest from Saber Interactive, was supposed to be the next big thing in the Warhammer gaming world. Released on September 9, 2024, this game had one job: to translate the epic scale and depth of the Warhammer 40k universe into a compelling video game experience. But what a swing and a miss! Paling in comparison not only to its predecessor but also to the tabletop RPG and miniatures game, this sequel earns a paltry 1/4 stars for turning a richly woven tapestry into a dull, threadbare curtain. First off, the graphics, sure, they're pretty. Saber Interactive has made certain that every bolt gun and chainsword looks good enough to hang on a gallery wall. But Warhammer fans didn't come just for the eye candy. We came for a story, for a universe that's as rich and complex as the tabletop game that has spawned legions of devotees. What we got instead was a visual spectacle with about as much depth as a puddle in the underhive of Necromunda. The gameplay, oh the gameplay! It's as if the developers forgot that the heart of Warhammer isn't just in mindless hack and slash but in tactical, thoughtful combat that mirrors the strategic play of the tabletop game. Instead of strategy, we got repetitive button-mashing sequences that feel more like a chore than the cerebral battles Warhammer fans relish. Where's the nuance? Where's the careful planning and execution that players of the miniatures game know and love? And let's talk about the story, or rather, the lack thereof. This game takes the rich lore of the Warhammer 40k universe, a lore that has been meticulously crafted over decades, and reduces it to cliched one-liners and superficial plot points that barely skim the surface of what could have been explored. The narrative is rushed, leaving characters underdeveloped and their motivations as murky as a Fonon Fenris. This game's story wouldn't pass muster in the most forgiving of Black Library submissions, and it's a disservice to the narratives that tabletop gamers create in their campaigns, full of intrigue and depth. The multiplayer aspect is another missed opportunity. It could have been a space to bring players together in a way that echoes the camaraderie of gaming tables around the world. Instead, it feels tacked on, an afterthought that lacks the community spirit and cooperative strategy that is a cornerstone of the tabletop experience. In conclusion, Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, is a disappointment of heretical proportions. It fails to capture the essence of what makes Warhammer 40k a beloved franchise: its depth, its community, and its tactical brilliance. This game is a shadow of the tabletop experience, lacking the soul and the engagement that fans deserve. For this, it earns a dismal 1/4 stars. Fans of the miniatures and the TTRPG, save your money and stick to the tabletop. It's where the true spirit of Warhammer lives, not in this lackluster digital imitation.
Like always, thank you for watching if you made it this far. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this. I typically have at least 2 videos out per week, either AI reviews like this one or real reviews of things I have watched or played. Next week will be 2 AI reviews like this week. Until next time.